Welcome to the christening video for Kampr with a K. I've got it all set up to go on trips now. So let's have a look and see what the features are. So just briefly, let's go over to the driver's side here. Watch out for these windows, they'll get you. So the driver's seat, I've got rigged up with one of these beaded seats, which I've always loved. I know they're very 1990s, but very practical and I think comfortable. I've got my holder for the phone over here, which has the wireless charging, so it's nice. I don't have to hook it in at any point in time. And then what I've done is I've repurposed this old iPhone as a dash cam, and so I can get videos while I'm driving. There's a neat app that will automatically capture 3 minutes at a time, and it will capture things if you're in an accident. It does it via accelerometer measuring, so that's pretty cool. Got the standard windshield stuff. Under the front seat, I've got power cord for shore power when I'm at hookups. This is a special charging device for the power stations, which I'll show in a second. And there's also, if you look way back there, there's a freshwater hose, and then underneath all this is just jumper cables. So that's the driver's side. I've also added these kinds of mirrors, which I find extremely helpful. Much better than these ones here. I won't open the back. Let's now look at the passenger side. Not much to show here, but you know, I've got my hiking stuff over here. So my poles, I've got gaiters here in case I'm going through tall grass, and of course the umbrella, my backpack with all my backpack stuff. Here's my trash can, which is really nice size because you can just use an old produce bag as a liner. So that's pretty cool. And I guess that's most everything up here. I'll show the power station, which is down there, in a second. Okay. My philosophy on this van was, as I said before, to try and keep things generally reversible. The one non-reversible thing I did was to put in these windows. So these two on this side, and then one on the other side, which is behind that Reflectix. These two in the mid-section of the cabin are for ventilation mostly. This is my mud room. I am trying to be good about taking my shoes off whenever I come into the van. It's my little home away from home. So let's start with in the front. Up front here we have a Goal Zero Yeti 1400, which is a power station. It outputs DC, AC. I've got a little this thing here is connected to the cooler, which I'll talk about in a second, but it holds about 1400 watts. And the neat thing is I can charge it in 3 ways. So this cable here, which I basically keep hooked up all the time, goes up to the cigarette lighter. So when the car is running, it charges this. And it's actually smart about not charging it straight off the battery. It only works if it's the engine's running. But yeah, you've got USB outputs here. You've got regular plugs. You've got a cigarette lighter output here. And then, so I can charge it off the car is one way. Another way is I've got solar panels, which I bought enough solar panels that it should, on a sunny day, I should be able to recharge this in a few hours. So maybe 3, 4, 5 hours. I haven't tested that. But I've got a second one here. This is actually a Yeti 1000, so it has slightly less capacity, but the functionality is essentially the same. So between those two things, I can power just about anything. here's my cooler. So this is actually a thermoelectric cooler. And right now I've got it positioned for driving. But, you know, when I'm camping, then it can actually sit right on top of this, this bin over here. So the thermoelectric cooler, which I could talk a lot about, but it's got the advantages that it's efficient, and the disadvantages are basically that it doesn't cool to a particular temperature. It actually cools to somewhere between 35 to 45 degrees below the ambient temperature. So if it's, you know, 95 degrees out, then it might cool it down to 45 degrees. But if it's 70 degrees out, it might actually take it down below freezing. So you have to be careful with how you use it. I've got this thermostat thing hooked up. So this remote actually is a thermostat, and it's wireless, so it connects up with this thing. And initially I had this sitting inside, and I would set it to the temperature I wanted, like, you know, 37, 38 degrees or something like that. And that worked fine, but after I did a little research, I discovered that this would cycle very often, like several times an hour possibly. And that is actually bad for the thermoelectric electronics. It stresses them and can cause them to fail sooner than later. So what I've decided to do instead is I set this so that if it starts to get warm in the van, you see I've got it set to 80 degrees. It's 68 in here right now. But if it starts to get warm in the van, then this thing will kick on. And then in the meantime, what I've got going on inside is basically a bunch of stuff to hold the cold. So a couple of gallons of water and a bunch of blue ice. Still plenty of room in here. The other disadvantage of this is that it, whenever it's on, I'll turn it on here just for a second so you can see. Whenever it's on, this fan is sucking air in here and blowing it out here. And so you have this constant noise. It doesn't cycle, it's just constant whenever it's on. So that's another disadvantage. On the other hand, I find it's quieter than a regular compressor-based cooler. And because it's constant, it's easier to ignore. So let me just put it back on thermostat. So that's the cooler, and it's got plenty of capacity. It's 48 quarts, so should be able to hold plenty of food. Over here is my pantry. So very simply, one of these acrylic, not acrylic, polycarbonate boxes. Inside are some really great storage tins that we bought. They're from a company called Onyx in Korea. So they're pretty much airtight, and they're stainless steel. So they're really great. Behind that I have my lounge chair, which I can pull out, and I actually, if I move the cooler on top of here, then I can actually set the lounge chair right in this space, and I can open up the door over here, and it's a nice little place to sit. Obviously I can sit in one of the front seats too. So down in here I've got my toolbox for easy access. Let's talk about the bed. So I've got the bed flipped over right now so I can show you what's underneath. But this is just an IKEA bed frame. I think it's called Slacked or something like that is the IKEA name. And what I've got going on here is, again, some more of these polycarbonate bins, which I got from the Webstront store. Webstront is the name. And I've got 4 of them. They fit perfectly in here. That was pretty much by design. That's one of the reasons I bought this bed. And then you see I've got this strap here, which is just sort of held in place. I can actually just pull this out pretty easily. And that's just to keep these from sliding while driving around. But in the first bin, I've got my basically kitchen and toiletries. In the second bin, is just a bunch of handy stuff. Third bin is closed, and right now the fourth bin is actually empty, so I've got some space to work with there. I know I'll fill it up eventually. I left this open because I wanted to show a couple of other things here. This is a panel heater, so it's only 150 watts, which means it doesn't put out a lot of heat, but it also means it doesn't use up a lot of electricity. And so I'm going to experiment to see if that helps at all. Keep things warm on cold nights, but yeah, so that's just basically the whole, that's all it is. Really simple. Over here we have the water bottle. The plan is actually generally to keep the water bottle right about here, and to put one of these manual pumps on it that you can just pump on, and then strap this down so it doesn't move. Right now I haven't done that yet. So underneath the water bottle I have just a standard Kampr propane stove as backup. I didn't show my cooking setup, but this right here is just a hot plate, but it's an induction hot plate, so it doesn't actually get hot. So that just plugs into the Goal Zero, and that'll be my primary way of cooking. And the propane Kampr will just be backup in case I run out of electricity or whatnot. You'll also notice I've got a NutriBullet in here. I rely pretty heavily on smoothies and whatnot, so that's that. And then the rest of the stuff is kind of just standard cooking stuff. I do want to show this. These are my homemade leveling devices. So this is just 2x6s that I've cut and then layered like this, screwed together. I've got two of them. There's another one down in there. And so that's just for when I'm camped and I want to keep things level. And then I can just use those. While I'm down here, we can take a look at this fan. So I've got these, I just added this parachute cord to this fan. It's pretty simple rig up. I just bought this fan at Home Depot for like, I don't know, 30, 40 bucks, something like that. Because I wanted to be able to obviously move air around, move air in and out. And so basically I take this thing and I hang it up over here. So it sits right in front of these two windows. And then I just hang it up on these eye bolts up here. So that's my ventilation. Again, that plugs into the Goal Zero. While I'm up here, I'll just show you what the window covering I've got here. So this is just Reflectix. But what I've done is I've just bought a bunch of magnets, and I don't know if you can see that. Here's the magnet. And I just used foil tape that you use when you're putting in like a dryer or a bathroom fan or whatever. Just stick that on there. And those just basically attach to the screws. So that's mostly for when I'm parked. And I've got covers like that for this window, for the two back windows, and for these two side windows. So that's that. Let me just put the bed back down. So pretty simple. I don't anticipate needing to go under the bed very often. But when I do, it's still pretty simple. So I've got lots of layers here. I've got my sleeping bag in case things get really cold. And otherwise, I've just got my standard bedding. This mattress is actually I've had it for quite a while. So the mattress is just all wool on the inside and with cotton outside. It's a futon mattress. No foam. Foam is really, really bad stuff. In general, you'll notice that I'm generally trying to use natural fibers. So for example, this rug is wool. This rug is wool. the insulation is wool. My bed is wool and cotton and a silk comforter. I've used almost no adhesives. The one exceptions are the little, when I stuck the magnets to the Reflectix. Your Reflectix is probably the only plastic to speak of, aside from these bins, which are extremely neutral plastic-wise. They don't off-gas at all. Polycarbonate is good stuff in that way. And yeah, so generally trying to keep all the off-gassing off, because it's keep the off-gassing to a minimum because it's such a small space. And the nice thing is that wool actually acts as an absorbent for volatile organic chemicals. Last but not least, I'll just come back here. This is one of the solar panels, and it's actually folded in half, so it unfolds. And then I've got another one the same size back here, and then another one that's half that size right here. So I've got these 3 solar panels, and the 2 goal zeros can be charged off of any of them. As many, they can be done in parallel, so that's nice. And so this is my little home away from home. I'm sure I will fine-tune it as time goes on. But I think I'm ready to go on a trip now. So, catch you next time.